What is good? We're back. We got our first run at the top 36-ish rookie rankings. We're going Superflex tight end premium 1.5 as per usual on the FFD. Got my man Chev over here. How's it going, man?
Oh, man, like I always say, any day on this side of the dirt's a good one, brother.
That's right. I just got back from a trip to Disney World with the family, and half of it felt like I would rather be under the dirt.
Man, I tell you what, if our trips could be any more polar opposites, I was with the boys all weekend on a golf trip, and you could just imagine the type of nonsense, the lake house in Alabama and golf. You could just imagine the type of things that took place with guys who've known each other since they were like 12.
Yeah, that's the best. No, Disney World was cool with the kids. Just, long time of managing small children. So, but
bro,
it was cool.
I can only imagine. We did the pilgrimage in October, so nice. It's fresh. It's still fresh enough in my brain to where I can definitively tell you it's going to be at least 3 years before we do that again.
Yeah, that's about right. I think that's perfect timing. All right, so we're going to go tier by tier. Like I said, this is overall ranking, so we got everybody in here. We're going to go top 36-ish. I'm sure we'll kind of throw some honorable mentions in at the end. Tier 1, I think we're both on par. Golf trip, trying to throw some golf humor in there. We're going Genty tier 1, and that's it, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty crystallized. Unless something weird happens with landing spot, that is the 101.
Yeah, and for me, I really don't even. It would have to be something super crazy, and we can go back to the Jonathan Taylor CEH deal, and we all care about landing spots, of course, but we can't let it completely draft capital also matters. All that stuff is all parts and pieces of the puzzle, but we can't let it completely dictate everything, because people were saying some crazy shit like you should take CEH over Jonathan Taylor because of landing spot. And I can see the same thing happening with Amarion Hampton, or that seems to be the second guy right now over Genty. And there's just really no scenario where I would be doing that if both of them are, if Genty goes in the 5th round for some reason, maybe then we have to reconsider, but it's not going to happen.
Yeah. If a meteor hit Earth and Ashton Genty, all the teams that are interested in Ashton Genty just went away, and then Amarion Hampton would still be the RB2 because Genty would still be the RB1. Whatever. There's just no reason to do that, in my opinion, right now.
Right. All right. So let's move on to tier 2, and it's quite extensive for me. I think the rest of round 1 is pretty solid and a lot of fun. And so I have Caleb Johnson, Amarion Hampton, Tyler Warren, Cam Ward, Travion Henderson, Tedero McMillan, and Quinshon Judkins as my tier 2. Big conglomerate there. Somebody might split those into maybe some micro tiers, but for me, Superflex, tight end premium, those guys are all kind of value-wise bunched in together. It's kind of pick your poison, dealer's choice. And again, landing spots and capital on these guys can help shuffle them around a little bit. And maybe even some of the guys below them could help them jump some tiers because you're more interested right away. And a lot of this, is obviously my value, but also the public opinion value also has to weigh in on some of your decisions of how you're doing this. And that's always the part with rankings that I think can get convoluted, is how are you perceiving the rankings? How are you ranking these guys? And I always try to blend a little bit of public perception and my own of value, and my own, obviously, watching the film, the analytics, all that stuff, kind of all try to weave it all in there together.
Yeah. I mean, it's all subjective now. I mean, I feel like if you can acquire extra capital to move back in the first round, I think that is something that is definitely going to benefit you, because that tier is so large. And not only is it so large, you're going to be able to get a player that you really feel like can help you. I mean, for my tier 2, I added Trey Harris. And I think, did you say Luther?
Mm-hmm. I didn't.
Okay. So yeah, I got Trey and Luther in that tier 2 also. So yeah, I'm with you. I think that the value definitely lies in being able to kind of wait and pick your spots. I'm way higher on Trey Harris, and you're higher on Luther Burden than a lot of people are. So we're kind of lockstep there in it's a conglomerate in that second tier. And if I want to move back, I want to get extra capital to do so that I can put the pressure on somebody else to make that decision. And then I can still get somebody that I really enjoy.
Right. And so I think that's a good point. And that's kind of almost how I determined that tier break right there for me. Cause it was like, where's the thing where I'm comfortable moving back X amount to which player to be like, all right, I want to stop here and make sure I get this player on the move back, because I am mostly okay with a move back in any of that tier, And so that was kind of my determination of kind of explaining that tier and where the cutoff was. So it was Judkins. So read your tier 2 real quick, just before we go on, just so we're on the same page.
So you got Marion, Cam Ward, Tyler Warren, Mika Ibuka, Quinshon Judkins, Trey Harris, Luther Burden III, Tet McMillan, Caleb Johnson, and Travion Henderson.
Okay, so we got slightly different players in there, but same idea of where your tier break is on where you'd be comfortable trading back to. Yeah.
I mean, I love this because I'm so willing to move back, and but it's gonna come with a cost, and I can get more players that I like in the second. And I've been saying for a while, get seconds, get thirds, get seconds, get thirds, because people are taking dumps on how the depth of this draft class. And I feel like that's the strength of it, is like you don't have the Omega level tier guys like, Marv, Rome. Yeah, BTJ wasn't in that tier, but, Marv, Rome, and Malik. But this to me feels like these are a lot of guys that are gonna contribute for a long time.
Yeah, and I think that's the weird part of kind of the fantasy dynasty community as a whole, is the shit on classes because there's not this. Which, by the way, in the tier 2, there's multiple guys there. Again, I feel comfortable with all of them, and there's any of those guys, in my opinion, could be elite level guys, right? And that's kind of why I have them there. But like, because it's not identified right now and right away, and you don't feel that way because they're not elite, as if really good players don't help you win, and guys who average 12 to 10 points don't help you win, and depth doesn't help you win. And like, I understand like certain people have different ways to play, and like if you play FFPC, which is a smaller roster, and you make cuts, you definitely want a little bit of stars and scrubs. Depth isn't as important, but like once you get into any league where you're in a bit deeper of a situation, which is kind of where I like to play, and I think most dynasty players end up, whether it's through taxi or just a bigger team, like you need some depth. And what depth can do is help you get through the attrition of the season, or help you put together packages to move up in players. So I feel like people are so quick to poo-poo things because you don't have those tastes. It's not who's the Ohio State and Alabama wide receiver who everybody wants, in the next couple of years.
Jeremiah Smith and Ryan Williams.
Right. Because those guys aren't there who are just absolutely destroyed college football from a really, young start in their throughout their career. Everyone's like, oh, well, we need to trade to get those. It's like, all right, well, let's just take that class as it comes. Like, you want to be playing that Russian roulette to go get those guys. Like, and you might do all that trading and not be able to get in the position to get those guys. So play it as it is. And this is a really good class. I think it's got some heavy hitters that could really turn into elite heavy hitters. And then it's got some great depth, like you said. So didn't mean to get off on a tangent there, but I just see it constantly every single year. And we talk about it ad nauseum. But it seems like more so than not, there's a lot of haters right now of just how mid this class is. And I think it's the opposite. I think if it's mid, it's mid plus to me. Like, I think there's a lot of really above average guys that could be up in that, basically the way I look at it is, can they be second, third, fourth round startup picks? And I think a lot of these guys through the first and part of the second round have a chance to be that.
Well, almost any time that we look at a class and we're like, oh, well, it doesn't have the upside of class X, you're leaving yourself room to be, one, get roasted by fantasy receipts, and two, get into a situation where like the guys who've done the work, we've done the work, and you can see that there's a path. There's gonna likely be a path for these really talented players to, hit the runway and hit the ground running. And now you've turned, the 2-3 into a guy that's a 2-3 rookie pick into the second round of a startup or a third round of a startup. And that transition is almost invaluable to what it does to the value of your dynasty roster.
Right. Right. And I'll make two more points and then we won't talk about this stuff anymore for this episode. But you have the champions of these leagues that come through here, like guys like JSN, and then one bad year it wasn't even a bad year. It just wasn't in comparison a ridiculous year. And you're ready to shit on him and tell you that he sucks. And you've been championing this guy for like a year and a half, 2 years. It's wild to me that goes on. Like, I really, really just don't understand that thought process of like, well, and then, go back to last year. Like, dude, I'm sure somebody listening to this was like, well, I was, but none of y'all were championing BTJ. Nobody was out here giving BTJ, Brian Thomas, the love that he was going to be on this elite trajectory. So much shit was talked about Ladd McConkey and Xavier Worthy, and nobody was giving those guys any love, right? Nobody liked Bucky Irving, so it was just like, all right, so that whole back half of the first round ended up being pretty damn good, and then Bo Nix and Michael Penix are awesome, and they were consensus second round super flex picks in a lot of, you know what I mean? So like, as much shit as everybody wants to talk, and now everybody's all into those guys, right? So that's just. You just got to erase that frame of mind and stop living in that world of negativity and hate, because that's what gets clicks and attention. And do the work, or find guys that you trust and go through a process and be like, no, most classes, there is a lot of bright sides, and there's a lot of ways to, even if you don't want to make the picks, which, hey, if you're not, you don't have to make rookie picks, but you can, still gain value off of each rookie class. Right. So
and that's what we're trying to do here, right? Like, you're not trying to swing for the fences. Oh, I've got the 104. I'm going to pick a guy who's going to score the most points in the class. Like, you're just trying to get on base consistently. Like, I'm just trying to not mess that pick up and then add depth. And then maybe one of those guys turns into a superstar. Right. Like I said, it doesn't make sense to say, oh, this class is terrible. This class is terrible. Like, they're good enough to be NFL players, and they're good enough for teams to spend capital on them to contribute to their team. So the opportunity is going to be there. It just doesn't have the resume of a Marvin Harrison Jr. or a Malik Neighbors, right? Like, it doesn't have the 2017 running back. It doesn't have a Christian McCaffrey. Ashton Genty, sure, if you want to, but it doesn't have the Christian McCaffreys, the Leonard Fournettes. Like, it doesn't have that type of massive, internet.
The guys you were excited about for years, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like, only Campus to Canton is the only one that they were touting Ashton Genty as a potential breakout before it happened. Other than that,
exactly. Everyone's like, well, the 26 class, trade those picks right now. And I'm like, motherfucker, like, half these dudes in this class you didn't care about until this year happened. Dude,
I had a conversation with a listener of the show earlier today, and he was like, yeah, man, the 26 class is really bad. And I'm like, but I don't think so.
Until you're in 26 and dudes are lighting it up, right? I mean, with all the transfer portals and all the other things going on, and get these guys on the field and let them go to work. And there's just a lapse in great athletes now. All of a sudden, I don't know.
There's just like those guys that entered college, the year or two after COVID, they're just trash for whatever reason. Like, what are we doing, boys?
Yeah, I don't know. It's really a wild thing, and I saw, maybe it was the Destination Debbie guys I didn't see the episode, but I saw the title of like, is the influx of redraft players ruining Dynasty? And the answer is yes. I mean, we've been talking about all for the last 2-3 years. Is like, we get all these new guys in here that don't play, and they're playing Dynasty like redraft, and that's advantage for the guys who have a little bit of patience, which has always been the fun part of Dynasty, right? So anyway, let's get back on track. Let's get back on track here. I'm gonna go tier 3. I got Luther Burden, I got Shador Sanders, I got Emeka Egbuka, Trey Harris, Matthew Golden, Colston Loveland. Who's in your tier 3?
So my tier 3 is small. It's Shador, it's Devin Neal, it's Matthew Golden here. Yeah. All right. I went a little bit different. I made that kind of a mini tier because I do feel like maybe there's a break in potential value. We'll get to the next guy who I still think, I could have thrown him in that third tier, but I think that there's a difference in, the type of capital that he's going to command once the draft hits. And I think all the guys that I just named, the only one that I have questions about their draft capital is Devin Neal. So.
Right. Yeah, no, I felt kind of similar about my tier 3. I had a few guys that you had in the tier above down in this one. Still really like them. That's kind of where that whole tangent came from that we just talked about, because I'm in tier 3 and tier 2 and tier 3 are pretty big for me. And I like all those guys. I'm comfortable with a lot of those players, and the value on them right now is really good. I will say I did not rank Travis Hunter in this exercise because there's no clarity of his usage. I think if he's a wide receiver, I think he'd be up in tier 2. But I don't think he's going to be used that way, and nobody does. And I don't really feel the need to rank him right now because I think that it's going to be D-back with some wide receiver mixed in, because I just don't think
that's really the only way it works.
Other way. Right. You can't really go the other way. At least I don't think you can. So
yeah, I mean, unless, like I said, unless he's the most talented player to ever walk the face of the earth, which, I mean, that's just, you're asking for an upset. So
right.
I don't think that there's any point in us, doing that. But what would be fun right now is, who would you bump out of tier 2 to put Travis in?
I mean, I just expand it, but
okay, fair enough.
It would just be one more player deep. But I mean, he's probably wide receiver 2 for me if he plays, right? Maybe wide receiver 1. I haven't gone full on scouting report of his wide receiver play because I don't believe. But I obviously watched him play for the last few years. Colorado was must see TV for me because it was a lot of fun, a lot of haters up and down, and I mean, just dudes don't move like he moves, right? And
exactly.
that's where, if he wanted to play wide receiver and dedicate himself to that side of the ball, the sky's the limit, right?
Right.
And just
unquestionably
the body bend, and then again, you can flip it around and you could say it's stupid, but just to be that athletic and to move the way he moves, and then to know what he knows about the other side of the ball and the leverage that's played and used is,
yes, ridiculous. You know what to do. You know exactly what to do to make a DB scared,
right?
Without having to expend a ton of energy or do I know if I get here, he's going to have to come out of his back pedal because blah, blah, blah. The level of football IQ that he has to have is ridiculous. And, like I said, probably the most prudent thing to do would just be to add a player to the tier, but I just wanted to start some mess and piss some people off a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I feel you. All right, let's keep it moving here. I got my tier 4. I kind of did what you did. I went mini tier here. Devin Neal, Dylan Sampson.
Okay,
so that's my tier 4. I skinnied it up, and I think Jackson Dart could easily be in here if the capital's right and everything breaks right. I think again the public opinion is very high on Dart. I'm not as high as the court of public opinion on him. He is down a tier for me here, but I think he could easily be in this mini tier or in tier 3 post NFL draft.
Yeah, I mean everything's pointing to him being this year's Bo Nix in the way that he ascends, and people start to get real excited about a guy with a big arm and the college production that he has. So he could very easily move into tier 3. My tier 3 is a little bit bigger. So it's led by Colston Loveland, then Jackson Dart.
Tier 4.
My guy. Tier 4. Yes, excuse me. My tier 4, Colston Loveland, Jackson Dart, Jaden Higgins, Jalen Royals, my boy Brashard, Ellick, A.O. Manor, and it's headed up by Dylan Sampson.
All right. So you got Brashard Smith real high.
Yeah. I mean, if you hadn't seen the short, go watch the short. Newsflash, Chev Dor-Sanders has a man crush on Brashard Smith. I'm bricked up in the cement. I'm not going anywhere either.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm with you. I got Brashard, I think higher than most, but not as high as you. And I mean, the talent and if the opportunity is there to match what the talent can be, I think he could easily be exactly where you have him right now, because I think he's got the talent. He's just making a switch. He's excellent at the receiver position, which is odd that people aren't more excited about him, because these other guys have to hit all these thresholds of receiving things. And it's like, well, that's what he does. And then he's just kind of touching the surface of how to play. So the thing is I think he'll have a role right away. How much can he expand on that role and take can he get on a Bucky Irving projection or trajectory rather, where the coaches and all coaching staffs won't do what the Bucks did last year, right? And
Exactly.
so you have to give the hat off to say, hey, we saw this guy just being undeniable, and other guys will just let pride get in the way and be like, all right, well, we're still only going to use, but like they're like, no, we like Bucky's better. Like we played his way in, and he's better than this guy, and Brashard absolutely has the opportunity or the talent rather to do that. Will he be given the opportunity, and will the coaching staff realize it and get out of their own way? If so, TBD.
Please go to the Denver Broncos. Please go to the Denver Broncos. Please go to the Denver Broncos. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. My bad. Yeah. No, I mean, I think that he's just such a unique talent. To your point, I mean, he was a 4-star recruit as a receiver, and, he has over 700 yards receiving in Miami. He's dynamic in the kick return game. And then he goes to SMU, and he's, in the gotta have it moments, which that's what I like to see. Like, what's your team doing when they need a play? What is your team doing with the football? And it was always Brashard Smith. You saw it in the ACC championship. I mean, they got mollywopped by Penn State, but they were still trying to get him the football. So I like, after just grinding the tape on him, I was just like, all right, cool. I will not be moved on my opinion of him. Now granted, if he's a 6th round pick or a 7th round pick, I'll adjust my expectations, but I would just look at it as I would look at it personally as a discount and an opportunity to buy him way cheaper than what I'm getting him for currently.
Of course. I mean, and that's what you have to, that's how this works, right? I like Bucky. I liked Kyron. You can still like those guys. Just when they get the capital, you have to then adjust. And then that's where ADP and mocks, and then you can figure out where the value kind of lies. And then you can say, all right, hey, it's 3-4. I'm going to make sure I'm going to be trading into the 3-2, 3-3, 3-4 area to get all the Kyron that I can, because I'm going to still own the crap out of him. I just don't need to take him at 2-1 anymore. Right. So that's how this game and fluctuates. You can, just because you were wrong on some of the evaluation of how the NFL views them doesn't mean the NFL got it right and applied the correct capital to him.
Exactly.
So sip your tea. I like it. All right, let's keep it moving. My next tier, I got Jackson Dart, Jaden Higgins, Jalen Royals, and Cam Scatterbo.
Okay.
Where are you at? Tier 5.
Small tier here. I've got Jalen Noel, RJ Harvey, and Isaiah Bond.
Okay.
Yeah.
I really had a hard time not putting Brashard Smith and RJ Harvey in this tier. I have Jack Besh and Ayo Manor. If we're going numerically through this, I have them ahead of him just because I think the court of public opinion and the draft capital may be better on both of those guys. But personally, I like Harvey and Brashard Smith more than those other two guys.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a small tier for me because I've, in all of our FFD mocks, like you're getting, I feel like you're getting such a value with Jalen Noel. I mean, the tape and the athletic testing, I feel like that's not being talked about enough. I mean, if he goes somewhere, if he goes somewhere useful, I mean, you're not questioning the metrics about him as a football player. You're just like, oh, can a 5'9", 200-pound receiver really, command 130 targets as a rookie? I mean, it'd be an upset, but I mean, we just kind of saw, I mean, lads, 5'11", 185 or whatever, but you just saw it happen to where he gets with a really good quarterback and he's awesome. So, and then, RJ Harvey has his knocks, right? Like he's older. He's older, and he didn't break out until he
was also a quarterback.
He was a quarterback. Yeah,
like that's why he didn't break out.
Well, yeah, I mean, so I was looking into this, and he broke his foot in 2022, I believe, and so that's what kind of put the kibosh on stuff. And then finally, when he was healthy, 2021 is when he broke his foot, and in 2022 he rushes for 700. 2023, he rushes for like 11 or 12 or whatever he did. And then last year was the Omega level breakout. So, and then Bond, we're just getting to a point where, I mean, yeah, it's disappointing he didn't run a 4.1 or whatever he said he was going to run, but he's going to excite some people with those GPS recorded speeds and stuff. Mm-hmm. So like I felt weird putting him here because I'm not a Bond guy at all. I'm not sure where you are with him. I mean, he's obviously not in your 5th tier, right? Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think that he might be able to be of value because of the fact that, you know, he disappointed people and then he pissed people off. I'm people, because he was talking about how fast he was going to run and he didn't do it.
Right. No, I mean, I have Bond and Jalen down here a little bit. I personally really like Noel, and I like how you're using your rankings as putting your guys up where you think they should belong. I think I weighted a little more of, you know, how I've been seeing them go, plus my opinion on them. And
right,
Noel just is not being drafted in our drafts really, and it's crazy. So I kind of have him down a little further, but I think, you know, the capital's probably going to be way better than a lot of people are thinking, and then he's going to be racing up boards.
Well, so important thing with that is he was a super late add to sleeper. Mm-hmm. So our ADP, like when we release the March ADP, it should be a little bit more accurate because the February ADP is like he got added at the end of February. So
right,
like where he's at, and then where he's at is still like what you got to scroll down a bit to get there, and it's just it should be more correct this month because of the fact that like we've had people get used to him being in the drafts now.
Right. I hope so. So that might make me have to move him up a little bit, but I think in your manner of ranking, I think I like your version a little better of grabbing guys and moving them up a little higher. And if that's the case, then I should move Brashard Smith, Harvey, and Noel up a little bit here. So I'll keep it moving. Tier 6, I got Besh, Ao Manor, Harvey, Elijah Arroyo, Harold Fannin, and Brashard Smith.
Okay. All right. I'm going to digest that.
Okay.
Let me see. All right. So my tier 6 is the teammates from Miami, Elijah Arroyo, Damian Martinez, Tez Johnson, and Cam Scattaboo.
All right. So Scattaboo a little lower. You got Tez Johnson. I don't even have Tez Johnson ranked in the top 36.
Unfair
probably from me.
I wanted him in here because I think that, you know, while he's not Tank Dill, he's still a guy who you saw him put it on display at the Senior Bowl. Now, granted, he's going to have to go and run a really fast 40 at his pro day, but that he was getting a lot of buzz going into the combine, and then he goes in and he's real small and not very fast. So yeah, I felt like it was worth mentioning. I probably should flip him into the tier where Jack Besh is. I definitely should do that. So that'll be an adjustment that I make moving forward.
Yeah, no, like I said, we kind of talked about Harvey. We kind of talked about Smith. Fannin obviously didn't crush the combine, but I still like him, and it's tight end premium. So I have no problem with that. And we'll see where Arroyo goes, but all the capital looks like it's pointing to second round capital for him. And if he ends up somewhere like Denver, I mean, he's probably a mid-second round pick in tight end premium, right? Because, you know, everyone's going to be in love and infatuated with that. And we just haven't seen that much of him. He hasn't been super healthy, but the glimpses that we've seen leading, like he's getting hot at the exact right moments here and showing what he is capable of doing in short bursts here. And so that we'll see that at the pro day. All right. I like Besh and Ao Manor. I think I view him similarly. I like Besh a little more. I like his physicality and kind of what he brings to what he brings to the game. That those two guys are going to be, you know, kind of based on who gets them and how I think they might be used in that particular offense. Like if somebody like Besh goes to the Rams, I'm going to be excited about it. Or if Ao Manor goes to the Rams, I'm going to be excited about it. Right.
Exactly.
So I think Besh might be a decent fit there for kind of what and how they do stuff. But I digress. All right. I'm going to go into tier 7 here. I got a small tier, which honestly, I probably could have put in tier 6 and tier 5 kind of together if I really wanted to. I tried to break it up a little more here at the end to just kind of show how I'm feeling right this minute. I got Giddens and Ollie Gordon in tier 7.
Interesting. So yeah, what a fall from grace for our boy Ollie Gordon. My tier 7 is Xavier, Restrepo, Besh, and Giddens. As I mentioned earlier, probably put Besh in the 6th tier and take Tez Johnson, put him in the 7th tier, most likely. And yeah, I mean, Giddens, in my opinion, is going to climb just that athletic testing plus what you see. Like, it was like, okay, this is a really good running back with like great lateral agility. And, he makes people miss. And then he goes and he's 212 and he runs a 4.4, a low 4.4. So yeah, I feel like he's going to move quite a bit.
Yeah. Capital is going to drive a lot of this. And then Ollie Gordon, I feel like still a good player, still interested in taking him, but right now it's probably floating in the 3rd round before I'm ready to pull trigger on him. So that's kind of where we settled on that. All right, tier 8, I got Isaiah Bond, I got Noel, I got Restrepo, 3 receivers that I feel pretty good about. Then I got Mason Taylor because it's tight end premium here. Not my favorite player. Could be completely wrong on that, but I think he's going to get the capital, and he's got good genes, good Levi's, and some people really like him, and he seemed to throughout this process stay right where everybody kind of had him projected, which is solid throughout this. We see how much people can go up and down for things. He just every time he shows up somewhere, he seems to do what everybody thinks he was going to do and kind of stays right there. I got Torrey Horton in here.
Ooh, let's go.
I got Jordan James, Damian Martinez. I got Tootin in here from the nice combine performance, and then Terrace Ferguson rounding out all the guys I currently have ranked in this top 36-ish exercise. And then, of course, there's some honorable mentions here when we get. So do you have another tier?
Yeah. My tier 8's slightly different. I mean, I got Will Howard, who apparently had a terrible combine, but we were giving JJ McCarthy passes because people told him where to throw the ball. And it's like, they told you not to throw a completion, bud. So I'm going to use that excuse for Will Howard here. I've got Jordan James, Torrey Horton, Bashal Tootin, Harold Fannin Jr., and then Ollie Gordon kind of fell out of my top 36. He's giving us all the warning signs like, hey, this could go really poorly. This could go really poorly. And so at this point, I'm like, hands off. I can't keep looking at him, disappoint us at every turn, and be like, but it could be awesome.
Right. No, and it could. And a situation really dictates a lot of things. And we saw some good, and we saw some bad, and we saw some ugly from Gordon, which has kind of got him where he is, I think, for a lot of people right now. So I didn't put any other quarterbacks in here. And to me, it's going to be really, really heavily weighted in on some draft capital. I like some of these guys. I like Howard. I like McCord. I actually like Ewers probably more than most people. Milroe, if he goes to a spot where he can sit and develop, and I like the situation that he's in, I might be drafting a lot of Milroe, but it probably won't be till the 3rd round, right?
100%. He just ran a 4.37 at his pro day, so we're about to see a meteoric rise. Right.
If McCord or Milroe or Howard, if those guys get 2nd round capital, they're going to be moving up draft boards here, and I don't know who it's going to be. I don't really mind any of them. Just has to go to the right quarterback. Is such a dependent situation. There's so much dependency that goes into it. And I don't think any of those guys are day one starters. So it's even more, in the developmental stages of who's in front of them, who's developing him, what's the system, is it a fit? How long is that leash of the coach that just drafted him, right? A lot of factors have to go into that. And so I left a lot of the quarterbacks out. Oronde Gadsden is a tight end that I'll be drafting everywhere I can, either as a free agent or at the end of a draft. And then, just some other honorable mentions for me. I had Woody Marks, Donovan Edwards, LaQuint Allen, great pass catchers. I think can have a role right away and develop into something else, but just, not here. Then Ty Felton, like him a lot. Ricky White, like him a lot. Rocket Sanders. I mean, geez, Evan Stewart is interesting. Tez, and then Trevor Etienne, I thought had a good combine overall. was kind of forgotten. But man, that's
completely forgotten.
We're well into a fourth round and some free agents, and I hadn't even talked about all the players that I might even like a little bit. So there's some, and would it surprise anybody if Rocket Sanders, ETN, LaQuinn Allen, Donovan Edwards were, the sixth best running back in this class? I mean, not really, right?
No. I mean, you could see the thing with those guys is in last year's, so in 2024's running back class, those guys would have been steamed up big time because of the lack of depth. But this class is so deep. We're into the fourth round of a draft, and we just hit Rocket Sanders. I mean, he played at Arkansas, he played at South Carolina. He was playing at 230. He goes in the combine at 217 and runs a 4.4. And that's a guy who just has plus physicality. He's got soft hands. Like, these guys are, Marcus Yarns, right? We hadn't talked about him at all.
No.
Yeah. So, this class is so deep that we're going to have to. Jaden Blue. Yeah. He runs a 4.4 flat. And you saw him flash at Texas. So there's not enough chairs, so to speak, for a lot of these guys to get capital that's going to pay dividends in 2025. But we're helping you get familiar with these names in the hopes that you're not just throwing away your fourth round pick on a guy that you just recognize his name. It's like, oh, okay. I know a little bit. The guys at FFD told me that this guy was good. So I'd rather take that than, just a random fourth round pick of a guy, just whatever. I don't care. Some random tight end.
Right.
I think that the value, there's so much depth that there's going to be value in the later portion of the draft.
Mm-hmm. For sure. And I know some people's thought process on that is, hey, I'll just kick that can down the road and add those to other things. And the probability of wide receivers or whatever hitting there is slim. And it's like, hey, I know we've done this over multiple years and seasons, and it's like, there's always a few diamonds in those roughs. If you want to do the work and want to find them and have some patience on them, you certainly can. Guys like Tank Dell and Cedric Tillman and Puka Nacua all come to mind fairly recently that I've had steamed up, Jalen McMillan this past year. Right. So we've had guys and all these other, and then, running back wise are the shots that people like to take a little bit more. But guys like Kyron and Bucky are recent examples of that. So, just don't let anybody sway you that you can't find good stuff in the third, fourth rounds, like Chev's saying, because it can be done. You just have to do the work and get specific about which guys you want to be targeting in those areas. And yeah, you're going to hit and you're going to miss. You're going to hit and you're going to miss on first and second round guys too, man. It just gets a little less likely in the back half, but that's why you put the work in, right?
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So, all right, let's wrap this up. Chev, tell them where else they can see your beautiful face on this side of the dirt.
Here.
Here, present.
Yeah, I'm here 2 to 3 times a week. I'm also on the Dynasty Pulse on, I guess we air on Fridays. And then I host Titans Uncovered on Uncovered/NFL underscore. That's what it's called. Underscore. Yeah. And then I'm the co-host and co-founder of Two Guys, One Pod. That's available on all your podcast platforms. So yeah, that's where you can find me.
Make sure you check it out. This was brought to you by Fast Draft. If you want to check it out, you absolutely should. We're going to be doing a lot more stuff here. Firing up soon. Use promo code FFD. You get a deposit match for $25. But if you're not already on it, you should be on it. It's a lot of fun. Just a different way to play best ball. They got rookies only. They got defense only. They got your typical kind of best ball, but only 60 players you get drafted. So it's a lot quicker. It's been a lot of fun, and it's a new thing out there. So there's probably still some edges to be had, right? Everybody's playing underdog, but how much edge do you have left? There's all the glasses wearing nerds have come in and found every edge possible there.
According to my algorithm, it says
right.
There's a tremendous value here.
Fast Draft, there's certainly still some good value out there to be had. So make sure you go check that out. And make sure you keep it locked and loaded over here. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe. If you're listening on the pod, 5 stars. If you want more of us, you can come on the Patreon side of things. Get you at least an extra episode every week. We got rankings, rookie, dynasty. Obviously, we've just updated the rookie rankings. Dynasty rankings are coming up here soon with an update. We got ADP that's available. We're always drafting be sure to lock it into Mock Draft Mondays. We did take a Monday off because your boy was out of town, but we'll be back and keeping live mocks going for the foreseeable future. So make sure you check all that stuff out. Until next time, I'm Casey. That's Chev. We'll see you soon. Peace.